Welcome to the podcast, Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business by Coach James Short. This podcast is designed to help you with strategies, insights, and ways to increase sales, build and lead high-performing teams, and ultimately grow your business. Your host, James Short himself, also shares some of his secret sauces on how he helps his own clients achieve business growth quickly and easily. James has been coaching those in the real estate and property industry for close to 10 years now, and his clients keep on saying, since working with James, their results have been outstanding, giving them more money, time, and fulfillment. James is offering a free strategy call to those listening to see how he can assist you to take your business to where you want to go. Simply go to jamesshort.com.au/strategy and book in a time today. Now on with the show.
Hi and welcome to another edition of Leading and Growing Your Real Estate Business. Coach James Short here, and we are super excited with our special guest today, good mate of mine and a mover and shaker of the industry, Claudio Encina. Oh my gosh, this guy is a freak, a legend. His heart, I reckon, is bigger than Farlap, and his smile is pristine, bigger than Luna Park. This guy is a mover and shake within the industry. He is highly regarded as one of the leading Australian real estate coaches, speakers, mentors, and trainers out there. He's got more than 20 years experience within the industry and almost a decade as a leading agent. He's also driven by his passion. This guy, oh my gosh, his passion is next level for helping clients implement proven sales techniques, system strategies, and skills to increase their productivity and profitability in all market conditions. You've probably seen him on amazing different podcasts, interviews. He's spoken at ARIC with over 5,000 agents, and he's a regular on the Elite Agent magazine, Ask the Coach. Gosh, we are so excited to have him today. Let's get him on the call. Mate, Claudio, so good to have you.
Oh, James, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I've got to tell you, mate, next time I have an event, I'm going to get you to make sure you're the MC to put me on stage, because that energy, you would fire me up and I would just absolutely crush it on stage. So, but no, I'm very humbled to be here and share the next, whatever it is, half an hour with you. So thank you for having me on your show, actually.
Awesome, mate. Really appreciate it. And you know what? That's what I love. I love your energy too. So we can go so many different directions here, but let's see where we can go. Let's see where we can take
it. It's an energy game, right? So as long as you've got the right energy, man, we set the tone. So it's absolutely right.
Love it. So let's go back a little bit in relation to your journey.
Yep.
So many people know you out in the industry, but there could be probably one or two that may not. But
Yep.
what has been your journey up until now? Share with the listeners what are some of those key milestones that you've gone through your own journey with where you are right now.
Yeah. So for me, as soon as I left school, James, I ended up playing professional tennis. That's what I really wanted to be. It was my first goal, actually, to become a professional tennis player. That didn't work out after 3 years. I got a world ranking, which is awesome. Got to travel the world, meet some amazing people. And then I got back and I was like really lost. I didn't know what my next career move was. And so this is in my early 20s. And, for some people may or may not know, but Matt LaHood, who's, CEO of the agency and, was a long-time partner with McGrath's. And basically, I reached out to him for help because I knew Matt. We were best mates since kindergarten. We went to high school at Marsland College at Randwick. And I just sort of said, I'm going to meet him up for a coffee. Anyway, here I am at 22, 23 years of age. We meet for a coffee on Belmore Road in Randwick. He pulls up in this brand new Mercedes-Benz, and I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? Either you're selling drugs or you're doing something super successful. And for him, he was a super successful real estate agent at a very young age, and we were chatting, and he goes, mate, like the old thing, you're a people person, so as soon as people say that you should be in real estate, you're a people person. So next thing, I just did the real estate course at Randwick TAFE and, just did the journey. Started as a leasing officer and started my first job at LJ Hooker, Bondi Junction.
Wow.
And started my real estate career in the eastern suburbs of Sydney and did that for a little while, then got into Double Bay and then worked with John McGrath as an agent in 03. And then in probably, in 2010, I really wanted to become a coach. Happened by accident, actually, to be quite honest with you. Where it happened was we had the GFC, if any of you remember, in 2008. I was a sales manager on a pretty good, healthy six-figure income.
Yep.
And they pulled me in and they said, look, Claudio, things aren't going great. We're making a couple of changes and, we're offering you a redundancy, or
Wow.
you're going to have to take a much lower, cut in your wage. And I was like, whoa. And I've been
Yeah.
blessed to have coaches and mentors my whole life. At the time, I was working quite closely with Tom Ferry, and we had a chat, and he was always saying, "Goes, man, you've always wanted to be a coach. Why don't you do it?" And I'm like, you got this like lack of self-belief, self-doubt. We've all been there, right, James?
Yep.
And I really didn't believe in myself. And if I don't believe in myself, like how much people are going to believe in me that I could be a rock star real estate coach, so to speak. Anyway. Cut a long story short, because I was pushed into this, sometimes the universe does amazing things for you. Pushed me into this corner where I had to make a decision. Either I take a pay cut, or this is my opportunity to become a real estate coach and do what I've always wanted to do. And, I had my first coach, Bob Boland, in 97 when I sort of got into real estate, and I saw him at Aric, and I said, if he's writing 20 million, I want to write 20 million. I want to know the ideas and strategies, what got him there. And I've been blessed to have all these coaches. And then, anyway, Tom said, just do it. This is what, you're good enough to do it, etc. And, he believed more in me than I believed in myself. And I had a crack. But like anything, James, first 3 years, it was the toughest, challenging wise. My wife had a health scare at the time, 3 kids, really pretty much the breadwinner at that point. And I had like 0 clients.
Wow.
Here I am thinking, how am I going to start this gig, right?
Wow.
Anyway, we had an unfortunate incident. We had a lot of financial pressure at the time, and we nearly lost the family home, to be quite honest with you, because I'd gone from, having money to like literally no money.
Yeah.
And, ringing people up and they're going, who are you? And I'm saying, Claudio. All right. You work with, Lee Woodward. And I'm like, no. And at the time I called it Fast Performance. I actually thought I sold mufflers and sold tires or some high performance cars, right? So anyway, cut a long story short, James, started my career in 2010. We went through some stress, and my wife actually had a stroke. She actually, from, everyone handles stress in different levels, and, ended up in hospital for 6 weeks.
Wow.
It was pretty hairy and scary at the time.
Yeah.
My kids saw it all in front of them. I saw it that evening. We're in an ambulance and ended up at hospital for 6 weeks. And I remember speaking to Tom, and he said to me, he goes, dude, you got to build a championship schedule. And I said, what do you mean a championship schedule? He goes, well, champions have a championship schedule. They're like booked out, and I want you to build that for the next 90 days and have your whole diary booked out 90 days.
Wow.
And I just went back to the basics, James, like what I'd learned, door knocking. I went to real estate offices and knocked on their door, and he said, just do a free session. But he just said, do something that's so impactful that by the end of it, they're ringing you going, can we get you back in again? Right. Yeah. And I'd learned it, rehearsed it, practiced it. This like keynote for 1 hour, like in this workshop, but not getting paid for it.
Yep.
And I'm like going to Tom, like, how's that going to help me out of financial, right? And he goes, just do it. Anyway, I remember the first guy I had, it was Glenn Farrar at NG Farrar, and they, at the time with that Barker Lodge, or where they had their sales meeting on a Tuesday, and they had like 20 odd salespeople. Nervous as hell, went there, delivered. And you know what? I get in the car, 15 minutes later, Glenn Farrar rings me and he says, hey mate, we want you back. Can we put you in, once a month? And I'm like, okay, once a month. That's still not going to pay for it. So look, it rolled on from there. One client became 3 clients, and just looking at my wife, and I just reflecting, it gives me shivers, but being in a hospital bed for 6 weeks where she didn't have any movement in her hand, she couldn't put 2 words together in a speech because she had a stroke, right?
Yep.
Week by week, day by day, over that 6 weeks, she slowly improved and started getting movement back in her hand, and touch wood, she regained her speech and was able to put, instead of 2, put a whole sentence together. And it just made me so determined. Like sometimes, you hear about it, like your adversity becomes your advantage.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what it was. I was so determined in 90 days, what Tom had made me do was to fill my diary up with clients and what have you. And from that day, I, never wanted to be there again. I never just wanted to be in that space of scarcity, a place of fear. And when you put your mind to anything, James, I think, anything is possible. Like I would never have thought that you could build your business in 3 months to have it full, right?
Yep.
But when it becomes it's like there's nothing. It's like, there's nothing in it. It's like burn the boats and just do it.
Yes.
That's what it became, right?
True.
And you look, that's how I started my career. So that was 2010, and the first 3 years was still getting to know, building my business. And look, now a coach agent who, are brand new in the industry, who to some of them who are writing 7 figures. And, you know, it's been an amazing journey. And that's been my journey, literally, like from, you know, you heard it from being a tennis star to, well, not even a tennis star, I wouldn't call it that, but a professional tennis player to, you know, getting into the coaching side of things.
That's so, like, there's so many key takeaways just on that explanation for the listeners, because sometimes, you know, as painful as that adversity was, it was like, I'm all in. I have to be all in because of all these different motivating factors that we need to make a difference here on your family's lives, your personal life, everything. It's just, I mean, that's some huge takeaways. And I think which leads me to the next question is that missing point where people go, you know, you said it yourself, of just getting back to the basics, making sure that you're burning the boats. Yep. Where do you think people miss that? Like, what's that missing link of, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, yeah. Or what do you think that is? Where's that missing link for people?
I think the missing link, and, you know, for me, it's been like you live in 3 states, right? Like, you live in a state of need. I need a listing, I need a sale, or I need money, whatever it may be. A state of want, which is where most people live. Like, I'm doing okay, but I want more. But there's a gap between want and what we call the state of no. I think what it taught me was when you're in the state of no, you know what you have to do, right? It's like, you know, I knew at that point in my time of my life, I had to get out every day and door knock real estate offices to sell my you know, door to door, trying to sell my services. It wasn't a phone call, it's just going back to door knocking, because, you know, at the time, like, trying to get through, you know, the front office to get to the sales director or the principal, it would never happen, right? So to me, it's like, you know, you've got to live in that state of no. You know what you have to do, right? And if it's in real estate, how many calls you need to make, right? How many people you need to meet each week? How many new contacts you need to bring into your social currency, which is your database? All of that. And I think what we tend sometimes to do is we create stories in our head, we label stuff, right? We think about other people's opinion. And, you know, that's what tends to stop us a lot of the time. When you're in that state of no, I think you don't care about people's opinion. You don't worry about that story. Yes. You don't dwell and think and ponder about stuff. You just, like, execute and get it done, right?
Love it.
Because you're either in order or you're in chaos. And when you're in order, you just do it, versus chaos. It's like, you know, because, you know, when you do it, it's like, gives you a sense of calmness. When you do the things that you're meant to do, it gives you a sense of power. When you don't, creates chaos, creates anxiety, creates stress. Yeah. So I think the thing people need to understand is you can easily move your state from a want or a state of need to a state of no. Knowing that no matter what's happening, like, you could be in the most financial stress, as I was at that point, nearly losing the family home. We had, you know, but I just knew that I had to shift that mind and just go, I know what I've got, like, am I focused on the problem or am I focused on the solution? Like, where is my time being spent? You know what I mean? And the solution was I had to get in front of principals, meet people, try and sell my you know, coaching services. And that's what I did. And it doesn't matter what it is, if you're lifting and selling properties or you're in any type of business. I think the best place you can actually live is that state of know what you got to do. And you actually feel good. Yeah.
Love it, mate. That's so cool. I love it. That's a huge takeaway. Now, you're very popular Australasia-wide, and you would have seen so many agents and offices all around. If you let's talk about teams for a moment. And you've worked with so many successful agents and agencies out there. What do you notice in those high-producing, high-performance teams? What are some of those things that they do really well? But then on the flip side, where do you find most other businesses who don't have these high-performing teams, where do they fall down?
Okay, so it's really interesting. So when is the point when someone brings on other team members or more people into their team, right? So it normally happens when you have a level of momentum in your business and, you know, you're probably getting to capacity, which means that using less of your potential. So meaning that, you know, I can't make my calls or I can't do this and, you know, whatever, right? So generally people bring in someone as a team members is when we're in the level of momentum, meaning listings are coming in, sales are happening, money's flowing, all that type of stuff, right? I think where most people get unstuck with teams, and this is what I see the teams that have become successful, right? Number one is they get stuck where they grow, they get momentum, but they're not adding like the systems, the processes, right? Or procedures in their team to, you know, because it's like, that's the next level you got to put in. So what happens when you can't be doing the same thing what you were doing by yourself, bring people on and think that it's just going to happen, right?
You're going to mind read.
Yeah, exactly, right. So you've got to bring systems and you've got to bring certain processes into the team, number one, because once you have that, that will bring a level of stability, because once that happens is you put these systems and processes in, so it brings a level of stability in the team and also your business, right?
Yeah.
So where I think most people fail, because then once you've got that, then you go to another level with the team, right? So, I work with an agent at the moment, and I think he's just like gone crazy. I mean, the market's pretty strong as well, but I think he's got like 27 listings right now. He's got about 5 team members in his team, but everybody knows exactly what they're responsible for, what their role is, how they're held accountable, right? And have the systems and process so everyone is running smooth. Don't get me wrong. Like, there will be things that will come up and there'll be, a speed hump where it gets throws off a few people, but I can guarantee like 80%, because of the structure and the systems that they have implemented, will have that level of stability, right? Which will then, I feel, they go to the quantum leap. Now, with this fellow, Nick, I know for a fact, James, that, him get to 27, and he built his team at the end of last year because he went crazy from the second half of last year. Putting the systems and processes, right, has allowed him to go to the quantum leap. Right? Meaning that you get that level, momentum, you get stability, right? And then you got quantum leap. Yeah. And that's the level of the team where most people, I think, fail with teams is they just keep doing the same old thing, just add people on and just going, because I've got more listings, you handle more work. But you've actually got to be doing a whole lot more than that, right? As you know and I know.
That's so true. And then that's the sort of segues into the leaders of those teams. Where do you find, because that's a shift in itself, right? Like, where do you find those leaders? What are those characteristics? What makes up a good leader? And where do you find most people fall down in relation to their leadership styles or capabilities?
Yeah, I just think, if I look at, different people that, manage teams or run an office, whatever it may be, I think probably the most key thing that I find is they're very, I suppose they have a lot of consistency. They have a lot of order. It's really funny. I was having a conversation. I finished a workshop with a group last week down, south. And one of the principals approaches me and he says, look, I'm a selling principal. And he sort of said to me, he said, oh, look, how do I get the team fired up and all this? And he started asking certain questions. And I said, great, how often do you meet with them? And he says, well, we haven't really been meeting because we've been busy. And I said, well, so the first thing, it's like, if you don't have structure immediately, straight away, like, I'm busy, I don't have time for a one-on-one. What you're actually signaling to people is, number one, they might say, well, you know what, maybe I'm not that important. Number two, it's probably coming back to saying, well, if you can cancel, then I'll cancel, right?
Yeah.
So then it's like you're having these delinquent children all running around, but people seek for guidance, right? People seek for, and people love a form of structure. Even, if we talk about vendors, but even your staff need a level of structure. And it's not about, micromanaging people. It's just to sort of see, where they are and where they're at, and, how can you add value to them? To me, it's more like coaching and mentoring meetings as leaders that you work with them. But I think probably the main thing is they have a structure, they have consistency in everything they do, because, it's just some of the old things like, lead by example, right?
Yeah, so true. So true.
Just lead by example, meaning that if you want people to turn up every day at 8:30, well, you should be there at 8 o'clock every morning, right? Yep. Not because, I'm busy or, I'm doing something else. So they're probably the main things I would say, James, in terms of leadership. Those characteristics that I really see is have order, structure, and be consistent. Probably 3 things I would say.
Love it. Now you've mentioned mentoring before, like for yourself personally, and also as a leader, as leaders should be looking at the coaching and mentoring style. So
yes.
Who are some of the mentors that have shaped your world and your life, and who you also recommend? Yeah,
look, so my first coach was Bob Boland, and I started working with him in 1997, I think it was, back then. I don't know if a lot of your listeners are old at school or young school, but some of them probably, probably nappies, who knows. But here's the thing, James, I'll tell you this. So Bob Boland was my first coach, and you know what? Probably I was lucky enough because I had tennis coaches. Yes. I knew the benefit, right? The old saying, like, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame.
Yep.
So when I saw Bob Boland at Aric, I was like, he was my first coach, right? Then I started working with Dr. Fred Gross for about 5 years, and he was amazing as well.
Yep.
I found him more to be more like my life coach.
Yep.
You know, if you know, he really talks about big rocks, little rocks, 10s, 25s, and 50s, and what have you, and you know, making your soul, you know, become alive and live every day on a joyous level, being joyful. Sorry. So there are a couple of people that have shaped my life. Then I worked with Mike Ferry with one of his crew, and that's where I met Tom Ferry back in 1999 in Palm Springs. So I went to a Mike Ferry event, and that's how we became friends. And then I worked with Tom for a little while, and then you know, they really shaped me, you know. And then you know, being blessed to work with Tom, then he got too busy, too big, which is fair enough, and he just sort of said, "Hey, dude, and that was about, you know, just after I went through that headache about 10 years ago. And and then I've had, you know, worked with John Ashraf, and then I've now got, you know, Taki, and he's amazing as well. So all of these people have added, you know, different like little ingredients into me. You know, Bob Boland was that guy, like, you know, no shit, like, make your calls, do this, like, you know, there's no, it's either black or white.
Black or white. Just
don't
take it up.
tell me why you haven't made your calls, like, just do it. And that was great. You know, and Freddie Gross, like, really taught me work-life balance, live a joyful life. You know, what's most important to you and those around. And so everyone had some sort of ingredient.
Right. It's amazing, isn't it? Like different snippets, and also like different journeys and different parts of your life. You're drawing upon different mentors, probably at a subconscious level as well, of like, this is what you're needing right now to get you to another stage or another level. So it's amazing.
And James, and I'll say to you and your listeners, like, you know, I wouldn't be where I am today without, you know, having great mentors and coaches, right? As you would either, you know what I mean? That's the reason I invest, because it's those sort of people that push me, right? They get the best out of me. And, you know, if the last type of accountability is like self-accountability, right? Like, you know, let me have that hamburger, I'll start that diet tomorrow. That ain't gonna work, you know what I mean? So, you know, so I think from that end, it's each one of them has shaped me. And has been a key ingredient in my life.
Beautiful. Now, if you were to give 3 pieces of advice to the listeners out there in relation to helping them grow their business, what would those 3 key areas that you could advise on? That's like, do this, this, and this. Yeah.
Okay. So number one is I'd probably say the main key things I would say is, like, just show up every day. You have to show up. You know what I mean? No matter how life, you know, how tough life can be, you just got to show up every day. I really believe, you know, our energy plays such a big thing. Like, I'm going, Claudio, you're always so happy, but it's a choice, right?
I love it. Yes.
You know, it's a choice, right? Like,
so
I can, you know, don't get me wrong. Like, there are things that go pear-shaped, you know, sometimes on a daily level for me, and it's okay, right? But it is a choice, yeah? So I show up every day, number one. Number 2 is I'm absolutely consistent in what I do. I get up at the same time every morning. I go for a swim at the same time every day. I do my meditation and stretching every day at the same time. I'm in my office every day at the same time. It's just, you know, I just, like, routine is probably key. I've learned over the years that you can either have order or you have chaos, and I prefer order. It gives me a sense of calm, sense of control. So consistency is really key. So that would be number 2. And I suppose probably the other thing is, you know, just be you. You know, don't try and be someone else. Just be your own person. And I'd probably say, that just being yourself, like, and be humble.
That's so good, because everyone else is taken, right?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, James. 100%. Couldn't agree with you more. But they're probably the 3, you know, key things.
And I think those 3 key things have really hit it at a soul level, right? Because everything else, as you mentioned, around systems and structures, like, that's the tactical side of things.
Yes.
But unless you get those 3 things that you've outlined are already up front and done and consistently done, everything else just will fall by the wayside, and it'll get done. But you just focus on, as you said, you and getting that structure within yourself up and running. It's just like, boom, next level.
Yeah, totally. And you have a different type of energy. You feel like you're in control versus, if when you're out of control, you just suffer from stress and anxiety.
Yeah, so true, so true. So
Choose.
tell me about some books that you love to read or some podcasts that you love to listen to. What's some of your favorites?
Some of my favorites. Okay, probably a couple of good books that I've read. So Tom Ferry's Life by Design, I thought that was pretty cool. Even talks a little bit about like when he had the hard decision of splitting away from his father's company, where he was the president of his father's company.
Wow.
And it was a multi-million-dollar coaching business in America, and he had to make the decision where he wanted to go on his path because they just had different values of what they saw in coaching. So that was a really good book, I thought. Another great book for me would have to be Shoe Dog. The Nike story. I think Phil Knight. That was like one of my favorite ones. So yeah, I mean, awesome. There are so many. If you looked at my,
you got massive.
Like there's a plethora of books that I could pull out. McDonald's, The Golden Arches. That was a pretty cool book as well. So yeah, I think anything that can add value. But they're probably those two are my favorite. That I've really loved. Yeah.
So what's coming up for you? What does the horizon look like for you? What's on your agenda over the next 12 months, 24 months? What's coming up for you?
Yeah, look, it's an exciting time, and it's great to see that, in my 25 years of real estate, I probably have to say, James, even through the GFC, I was trying to sell real estate during the Asian crisis. I think it was 97 or so. I never saw the market as tight as it was 2 years, like in the last 2 years, except, when we sort of came out of it in August, et cetera. And obviously the Banking Royal Commission had a lot to do with that, and banks tightening their lending, et cetera. So I'd have to say, for me, I'm super excited about, where it's going now because, confidence is a powerful thing. It can build markets and it can, crumble markets. So just to see agents at the moment, in a much better space. But I also say, don't rest on your laurels because the market can just float by you. So I think, the next 3-5 years for me is continue to do what I do, is, work with some amazing clients. To me, nothing makes me more happy than seeing people grow. And, as you know, and I like seeing them in green lights. So like they're flowing, they're moving forward, all that sort of thing. Some sort of momentum. So that's really absolutely key for me. So the next 3 to 5 years is just, keep doing what I'm doing here, keep growing, helping my clients grow, come up with the next idea or strategy, whatever that may look like. But yeah, absolutely.
Love it. So where can the listeners go to find out more? Where can you send them? Where can you guide them?
Yep, perfect. So you already mentioned a couple. So I am on Elite Agent Magazine, Ask the Coach column. But if you wanted to find me, you can go to my Instagram, which is Coach Claudio Encina. That's Encina. It's not your Tom Smith or whatever. So you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook as well as Coach Claudio Encina. You'll see me pop up there. Or just go to my website, which is claudioencina.com. So that's where you
love it, mate. Really appreciate everything today. Your words of wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, your passion, your energy. It's awesome, man. And we could be talking for hours on so many different topics. I love it, but I know you got to go, and I really appreciate everything. And I just want to say thank you once again.
Hey, James, I really appreciate it. It's been a real honor to spend the last half an hour with you and your listeners and your tribe. And I just hope I wasn't too motivated for them.
I love it.
All right, mate. Listen,
awesome. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And all the best to you this year as well, okay?
Thanks, mate.